Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. That's wicked. Actually, I really need to invest in one of them because
Yeah, it's worth doing. I'm just using like normal sound card and then into the just into the computer. It's super easy. These clip-ons, they're like 25, 30 quid.
really sick.
Yeah, so they're not much at all. Am I loud enough?
Yeah, it's fine, man. Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, I can hear you properly. This is fine, man. Yeah, I've noticed like I really need to invest in one because I've been using this like for the last few episodes, and I've had to like trim my beard because in previous episodes I've
Oh,
been
is
like
it?
moving around. I can hear it go.
Oh, because of course it's right there, isn't it?
Yeah, for
Yeah,
real.
this is wicked. You just clip it here and it's out of the way.
Yeah, that's bad. So when did you get rid of the beard? Because it's a bit of a shock seeing you like
Yeah, right.
with no beard and without a hat on as well. Because I
Yeah,
think
that's true. I mean, it's like kind of that was always my DJ uniform was have a baseball
mm,
cap, and then I had a beard for like 10 years or something. But then I kind of lockdown happened, and it was just I kind of let it grow and grow and grow for a month or two,
mhm.
and then it just got a mess. And I'd let my hair grow as well for the first time in about 15 years, which
Oh wow.
there's not a lot there. So that
Yeah.
was but yeah, basically I just got to the point where I was like, oh sorry, I'll shave that off. And I was like, oh, I wonder what I look like with a moustache, I wonder what I look like with this. And then there was nothing there, and I quite liked having a change. I think just because it's such a weird situation, it's nice to have something different about it.
Yeah, for real. I mean, I've been like growing my hair for like the last like year because I had it kind of like slip back and then went to my barber's one time. It's like last August or something, and there was like a
Mm.
trainee who my usual barber weren't there, so there was like a chair free, and I was like, I really need to get it cut for a wedding. All right, cool, let's do it. And he kind of messed it up, so I've been sort of growing it back ever since then, and it's been like quite a slow process. So managed to get shape up before lockdown happened, literally like 2 days before, and then yeah, like I've just not touched it. So at the moment it's literally like almost like down by here. It's
Oh wow.
having to like tuck it up into my hat and everything, man. It's crazy. And then my beard was just like looking like mad armish, and I was just like, yeah, I need to shave this off, man. It's kind of
I think yeah, with beards it's like if you've not got all that the beard oils and balms and all that stuff and you're really on top of it, it just looks mad when you let it grow too much because the hairs just shoot off everywhere.
yeah, and it gets mad itchy as well. I mean, I was getting kind of used to it. It wasn't too bad, but it literally got to a point. I think like my beard was like down here, and it just goes down like that. So
Right.
yeah, it really needed kind of like tidying up and that. And it was a bit of a shock, kind of taking it down to a grade 7 because I was just like, oh my god, my face feels like so
Because
naked.
that's still a proper beard. That's not stubble you've got. That's like a beard.
Yeah, it's mad patchy at the sides though. Like it takes
Right.
ages to grow in at the sides. That's the only thing. So like I get like a really good chin strap, and it grows like super thick here, and then so this it just goes poof, and then yeah, I end up looking like a weird kind of like biker dude in America. Yeah, it's not good, man. But
Is the light all right? Look, I'm just thinking it's a bit because I've got the light behind me, so I don't know if it'd be better for
that's
me to
fine,
move
man.
around. Is that
It's
all
all
right?
good. Yeah, it's all good.
I'll put a lamp down,
This
isn't it?
isn't a professional get up. It's all good. You know, I was on camera getting slowly drunker and drunker with Rascal the other week. So yeah, so there's nothing. It's definitely nothing professional about this whatsoever. I'm just drinking tea out
Fair enough.
of a double decker mug instead.
That's the point. I should get a glass of something to drink.
Mm,
Ah, good. I've got a full glass of water here.
nice. Yeah, I was going to say about that. So, is it how many years you've been sober now?
So just over 2. So it was
Yeah.
May 2018.
Jeez.
So yeah, that's like stood me in good stead for the lockdown. To be honest, I think having
Yeah.
hangovers and like this is a weird enough situation as it is without hangovers. So I would not want to have faced those first days and weeks feeling like I used to do with a proper hangover. So yeah.
Yeah, for real. Because no, I read the article obviously that you posted in the group
Right,
chat, which
cheers,
is
man.
wicked. Yeah, man. And it's kind of been also great to see obviously that you've been like very open about it as well. You know, obviously like being sober and you know, I know we've kind of spoken previously, obviously about like you know how kind of annoying it can be sometimes. You know, sort of going into an environment like you know clubs and that where we work and having to kind of be the person that sort of you know starts saying nah, no jokes for me, and that, and having it all going around you and stuff. I mean, how do you feel so far about being in lockdown and that in general? I mean, how's it been kind of treating you?
What the lockdown experience in general?
Yeah.
it's a weird mix, and I've definitely had to sort of ride still like ups and downs, because objectively it's a terrible situation and my life has been completely upended.
Mm-hmm.
Like my career has just stopped. I was doing really well. I got to a really good point. I was super busy, getting some really interesting mixed work. Had some amazing. I was supposed to spend 2 weeks in Rome in April, doing like 9 gigs, and that just didn't happen. Obviously, maybe it'll be rearranged, maybe it won't. I should be flying back from Puglia tomorrow. Okay. So, you know, that's what so things like that. You look at your diary and you're like, so like objectively but the flip side of that is I'm healthy. The people around me seem to be fine as well. You know, my nearest and dearest. Thankfully, I fell into that self-employed grant thing nicely. So I've done quite well out of that. I've still got a little bits and bobs coming in from, you know, doing private things or, you know, mixes for brands or whatever. But it's a weird one. I could get really upset about what I had in the diary but haven't got. But, you know, what's the point? Everyone else is in the same situation.
Yeah.
And actually, like, the things that matter are, I've got a roof over my head, I've got my health, I'm not going to get kicked out of my flat. So, you know, actually things are kind of as good as I could hope for them to be, really.
Yeah, that's good. Is your landlord actually been quite cool with everything?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been able to continue paying the rent, so that's not been a problem. And that's one of the things, like, one of the weird side effects, not weird side effects, but one of the very pleasant side effects of not drinking is I just started being able to save money in quite a decent fashion, because I used to spend a lot of money after 2 a.m. It's like, you know, I'm not sure. Well, I've got a vague idea where a lot of that money went, but, you know, and obviously, like, having something put away and saved has meant that I haven't got that pressure that I would have had maybe 2 or 3 years ago, when it was like every month you're thinking, I just need to get to that amount of money in my bank account because then I can pay the rent. Whereas now it's like I have stuff in my savings, stuff, you know, and then that gets transferred over. So I'm in a good, economically, I'm in a good situation personally as well. So that's taken a lot of stress off the situation.
Yeah, for real, man. I mean, I do feel for like the people that are only, you know, I mean, just gone self-employed, or only just starting a business at the moment, and, you know, having to rely on their, you know, if they've got limited savings, if any savings at the moment, to obviously kind of see them through, and that weren't even eligible for, you know, for the self-employed grants. So I mean, you know,
like, reality is most people don't have savings. That's I don't know what the percentages are, but it's not common in the UK for people to have any amount of substantial savings at all. And when you're talking about 3 or 4 months where you can't work, that you need substantial savings to be able to ride that out.
Yeah.
So,
why do you think that is compared to, say, like other countries?
I'm not sure, really. I mean, I guess it's got to be a cultural thing of just, like, maybe it's an education thing that people aren't taught the importance of saving and the way that compounding works, so that if you start saving at 20, the benefit you will see by the time you are 40 is going to be gigantic, and by the time you're 60. And these kind of things are like, these are concepts that are literally things I've learned about in the last year or two, and I'm 41. And and I think there's maybe a lot of social pressure to wear certain clothes, have certain trainers, go to certain things, and like, certainly with the advent of Instagram and stuff like that, you've got that whole FOMO thing of, if everyone's out, well, I've got to be out with them, or I've got to match them with my next night out and get a bottle and whatever. So I guess all of these things, there'll be a bunch of different factors, but it just seems to be a really widespread thing that people aren't ever thinking about a range. Maybe as well, because we've had a very, you know, since World War II, there's been a sort of steady kind of progress thing in the UK, but things just get gradually better over time. When you look back at how hard, like, the 50s were, they still had like rationing after the war. And then, you know, and eventually so people maybe got a bit lazy across, like, people who could have maybe saved didn't think they needed to, because, well, you know, things are okay. You know, I've never been out of a job before. I won't be in the future. And no one, how could you expect something like a pandemic to happen? But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just, it'd be a combination of lots of different things, I think.
Yeah, for real. I mean, it's well, I mean, obviously, I guess back then, you know, sort of like 50s, I'd say up until probably the 70s, you know, if you were in a job, you're probably in that for life anyway. So you're going to guarantee to retire, get your pension, and obviously markets and things have changed, and, you know, people are bouncing from job to job at the moment. You know, a lot of people are kind of just, you know, doing contract work. Obviously, there's more people that are self-employed like us. And yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head when, especially with our line of work, you know, there is that kind of need or desire to kind of keep up appearances, because, you know, like Instagram is effectively like, it's replaced websites. I think, you know, it's effectively like our EPK, if you think about it. You know, it's like, if I want to find anything about a DJ, I know that I can go to IG and there's going to be routines, press picks, where they've been playing. You know, it's basically like your kind of thing that you know.
Well, that's people's, quite often it's going to be people's first impression of you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
And and I think like I guess there's kind of there's that whole fake it till you make it type of thing of, if I appear a certain way, then hopefully I'll, you know, with DJs, for instance, if you appear to be doing things at a certain level, then the hope is that you can then ask for a certain fee when a certain gig comes along. Whereas if you appear to be doing it at a different level, so maybe people feel like they have to go out and buy the latest CDG and Nexus setup just to seem to be a baller. I don't know. That's speculation, obviously, but
yeah, I mean, there's like DJs in certain scenes and certain clubs. I won't name names or name areas or anything, but, you know, they've been told that, you know, you got to start wearing like Balenciaga and Givenchy and stuff if you want to, you know, kind of look the part and actually kind of fit into that realm. You know what I mean? So it's yeah, it's a bit of a mad one. And, you know, like I said, but we're all guilty of it. I mean, you know, like I collect sneakers, and it did get to a point where I was just buying stuff for the sake of buying stuff just to say, hey, I had it. Do you know what I mean? And it's you know, definitely one thing about lockdown has sort of taught me as well is you know, you need to rein it in a little bit.
Well, I think that's one thing that I think quite a lot of people might come out of this experience with a much better understanding of what is essential and what isn't essential. Because one of the first things I did, and to be honest, I was quite early seeing this coming, because I follow politics pretty closely and international relations and stuff. And so I kind of saw this coming, and there was a bunch of things that I had that weren't really essential, like, you know, memberships from museums and galleries and a few magazine subscriptions and things, where I was just like, they all came around in mid to late February. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to cancel those, not renew them. Saves me 500 quid. And if nothing happens, I'll just renew them in March or April. And if it goes south, then I've got that money in the bank. And I think then obviously once the lockdowns all kicked in, I was like, right, cancel all these direct debits I don't need. And I've spoken to a few people, and they've had the same experience of just like trimming out all the non-essential things out of their life. And then you don't really, quite often you don't really miss them. It was just stuff that you had because you had it, and you know, I guess on some level you wanted it, but you don't need it. And hopefully I'm going to come out of this with you know, I kind of now know that I can live on a certain amount of money. I can get by. And then there was another bunch of money I was spending on stuff and like just frittering away on whatever. And yeah, that's quite powerful to know that actually, for, you know, once this is all sorted out and we are back to something like normal, hopefully I'll be able to, you know, maintain this level of spending to, you know.
Yeah. I mean, it's, you just kind of need to be sort of disciplined with it. I mean, I think when all of this happened, you know, I did kind of similar thing. You know, I stopped paying into my pension periodically. You know, because obviously I've got a private pension going on. You know, I luckily paid my car off like early February. I just wanted to get out of the way, so the monthly payments weren't going out of that. And yeah, all the other bits and pieces. I mean, I kind of went online, and, you know, when I saw it, you know, happening, I was like, cool, let me just try and change a few deals. And, you know, for example, like even my energy supplier, you know, I'm saving £40 a month now. Do you know what I mean? So it's
it's not nothing, that, you know.
Yeah, and
£500 a year, isn't it? Yeah. So and it sounds like it's one of those things where, like, those are sort of things we should be doing anyway. Like, because that's, you know, that's £500 a year is a holiday.
Yeah, exactly, man. Yeah, it's weird. I think this really kind of did put things into perspective, and really did make a lot of people kind of like look at their outgoings and be like, right, cool, what can I cut down on? And also, like, the amount of companies that have been quite cool about things. I mean, I know, you know, obviously we've got the self-employed grant. You know, you've got help from musicians. PRS were like offering grants to people as well, you know, between 500 grand, which is great. And even just like talking to your council, if you kind of meet the criteria, you can get your council tax reduced. Obviously you've got payment holidays with like mortgage providers, which I think they're now extending by another 3 months as well.
Okay.
So I'm in a position where I can get around to paying it again, but yeah, that kind of 3 month payment holiday was a treat, man. It's yeah. What's the point I was making? Like if people kind of do the dig and actually like call up, mobile phone providers or Sky or BT or like any of these kind of television providers and broadband providers as well, like you can really shop around and like really get a great deal at the moment, because obviously they're still going to want to retain customers. But
yeah, well, I think because the thing is, the companies that are switched on, they understand how much people will appreciate a bit of leeway now and a bit of help. And so you'll get a lot of customer loyalty if you treat your customers right in this situation. And on the flip side of that as well, customers can work out very fast if they're with a company that they're like, well, they don't care about me in the most difficult situation of my life.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go and get a different mobile phone contract or a different insurance provider or whatever. And I think it's a real opportunity for people to see which companies actually care.
Yeah, for real, man. I mean, that's
or at least just get it. Maybe they don't care and they're doing it for mercenary reasons because they want to keep their customers, but at least they get it.
For real. But I mean, apart from that, I mean, what else you been up to? You've been keeping fit, jogging still.
It's funny, like the way this is happening. Like obviously, like we mentioned before, this is just like a ridiculously horrible situation for all concerned, and it couldn't have torpedoed our industry more effectively. But weirdly, like the experience I've had over the last 2 or 3 years of getting sober, sorting my finances out, and basically like I've kind of created a sort of a morning routine where I get up, meditate, do some exercise, journal, do like a little language class on my phone and a few things like that. And I've got this kind of structured routine for my mornings. It takes a couple of hours. And so that means that hasn't changed. So I still get up at the same time, do that for the first 2 or 3, and then now it's like I call my mum and my dad separately each day, and like a few other things. But it means my mornings have still got this kind of structure. And then I use a journal planner to sort of be like, right, and so from 2 till 4, I'll work on, because I write for this blog for Heavy Hits, I'll do some work for that. And then from 4:30 till, I'll take a coffee break and do 4:30 to 6, I'll work on a podcast mix I'm doing for someone. And I've just tried to impose a kind of a routine and structure on myself where I feel like I'm working towards things that I can tangibly see. So like, the writing helps because there's output there, I'm doing mixes. And I've just basically been keeping myself busy and productive, because the moment I kind of let that slip, that's when things get on top of me a little bit. And there have been like weird mornings where I wake up and I'm just really down and it go on for a few days. And it's just like, I think that's just a natural part of this experience. Is we're in such a weird situation with so many unknowns. So much of what we took for granted has just gone up in a puff of smoke.
Yeah.
That we're going to have these mornings and weeks where we just like, it's just like the unfairness of it all or the randomness of it all can get on top of us. But because I've got this structure, I can always go back to that and just make sure I tick off these things on my list, and it keeps me on the right path. Yeah. And so that's kind of been my thing, is regular exercise and keeping a structured diary.
Sick, man. Yeah, I was trying to get into it. I mean, kind of let it slip over the last few weeks because I ended up pulling my shoulder, like doing workouts and stuff. But there was a bit, I know. It's like deltoid as well.
Not what you're meant to be doing as a DJ either.
I know. So I've been like trying to stretch it and exercise that, sort of every day, and just try and loosen it up. But unfortunately can't really do anything but rest, that particular muscle, because obviously.
Is it like the joint?
Yeah, it's like the joint, and get it sort of down here. So it's not too bad during the day, but like at an evening, and then obviously you want to wake up first thing in the morning, it's like super stiff.
Yeah, because when you've been sleeping on it,
stretch it out. But yeah, so that's kind of annoying when it comes to doing like a lot of compound exercises. So before that, I was doing like 30-day shred and a few other exercises, and just kind of get myself into that routine. Get up, do that, have breakfast, and then take the dog out and crack on with other bits and pieces, and sort of juggle that with like daddy duty as well. So there's like a structure to the day, but yeah, it does kind of feel like Groundhog Day at the moment, where the amount of times I've woken up and I've forgotten what day it is, and then it's crazy. Like, you know,
it's like the worst Christmas ever.
even like last week when we did some stuff for Lioness Bar for the RG, I woke up and was like, right, it's bank holiday. Is it bank holiday already? Like, I literally, you know, I probably would have forgotten if I'd not got the email through from Martin. So I was like, all right, okay, cool. I'm meant to be doing something today. Okay, cool.
Because that's the thing, I don't like. I used to look at my calendar quite regularly because I'd be adding dates to it and putting meetings in and whatever. And I just don't look at my calendar anymore because what's the point? There's nothing in it. And then but then you forget what day it is. You forget what's going on, and it's and I thought as well. Time has taken on the first week or two of the lockdown seemed to last forever.
Mm-hmm.
Where the hell did May go?
Yeah, because I want to say we're in week 11 now? Was it week 11, week 12?
I have no idea, but I feel like, because I do, I mentioned about the blog thing I do for Heavy Hits, and I do like a monthly roundup of their top downloads.
Mm-hmm.
I swear I wrote the one for April like 3 days ago. It feels like that, and I'm just about to sit down and do the one for May because we're in June now,
mm-hmm.
and like it's so strange because that time has flown by, and yet January feels like an entire lifetime ago. It's been a very 2020 is comfortably the weirdest year of my life. It's just
yeah, it's super bizarre. It's crazy. You know, and even the fact that the weather's banging kind of makes up for it slightly. You know, I'm lucky that we've got a garden and we can like, you know, sit outside and stuff. Even then, it's you know, we're limited to like sitting out in the garden, taking a dog for a walk.
You see your neighbors, but you don't really see your mates. Like
exactly. I mean, my parents are looking for like houses in the area, so they've been kind of you know, sort of coming up and sort of viewing properties in the area. So I've been able to kind of see each other, but in the sense where like I open the front door and they're at the end of like the, you know, at the path, and I'm like, oh hey, good to see you. Do you know what I mean? And that's as far as it goes.
Yeah, that's really weird, isn't it? When you just, because my family all live up north and they are in sort of the same towns, and so they've had things like that where it's like they'll come to mum's garden and stand the other side of the wall and have a chat from 5 or 10 meters away. But that's just like, and that's nice that they can do that, but it's not the same.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how. I mean, obviously, at the time of filming this, they just announced that you know, groups of up to 6 people can hang out you know, at one place. It's going to be interesting to see how this develops, whether people stick to it. Because I feel that even though we've been in lockdown, we really truly haven't really been in lockdown. Like, you know, people have been obviously, you know, abiding by the rules, but I think for the most part, a lot of people have been letting it slip. And you know, even just like walk around my local area, like, I mean, you know, last Sunday just gone, you know, I took the dog for a walk and there was like, you know, 15 people like playing football like, in the park together.
Yeah, I mean, I live right by Victoria Park, it's literally just there. And considering that the new rules you mentioned about 6 people came into enforce today, and they actually are only for 6 people to meet up. Like what I saw over the weekend and over the week, like the end of last week, I think everyone just looked at the whole Dominic Cummings thing and was like, well, if it doesn't apply to him, then because like there was tons of groups that were way more than 6. There were lots of people playing sports. There was lots of, I mean, I walked through Hackney Wick yesterday and I was chatting to some people I bumped into just randomly, and there was loads of raves going on. And I know there was a big one in Hackney. There was one at
street party
Marshes, and so it's like everyone's just been throwing raves all weekend. And so I think a lot of people, I don't know whether they are just sick of it and throwing in the towel, or whether they misunderstood what the relaxation of a lockdown means. But
I think it's probably more the former. I mean, you know, it's like, I like to think that people are kind of, maybe, you know, people sort of misinterpret a little bit, but I think people, you know they know what they're doing. And you know, I think they just sort of said, all right, bollocks this, and Dominic Cummings can do it, and, you know, effectively like break his own rules.
That for me is that's the tipping point. I think a lot of people were like, they were kind of itching to get back to normal life, and then they see that and they're like, well, hang on, and you know,
like how do you feel about non-essential shops opening from the 15th?
I don't have, like, on a personal level, I won't be going to them. Like I don't feel like I need to buy anything particularly from them. I guess they presumably got to enforce social distancing and limit numbers and stuff. I don't know how they're going to do that with changing rooms and stuff. In terms of like wiping, I guess they'll have to just spray and wipe stuff down. And
yeah, or if they are going to do change rooms, it might just be a case of you're not allowed
you
to try
try
things
it,
on.
you buy it,
Yeah,
and then if you, I don't know.
because even
I
like
mean,
because again, like say like say I went out and I don't know, I went to like buy a jumper from like I don't know Selfridges or something, and or Primark. So I opened the Primark stores. So I went in Primark to buy a jumper, and someone had tried it on like 10 minutes ago, and they had COVID-19. Like it's a wrap. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, like that. I mean, the whole thing is, it's such a nightmare because, I mean, there's a lot we don't know at this moment, and a lot we probably won't know for a long time. But like, people in senior positions seem to reckon that the amount of infection of people is like, I don't know, 10-15% or something. That's like not that many, and it's still out there.
yeah.
And if we all just kind of go back to life as it was in February, we're all going to get it again, or it's all going to kick off again. So I don't know.
Phase, yeah.
But the flip side of that is we can't do this forever. So I mean, like, this is one of those situations where I've got no love for this government, but I don't envy them having to make these choices, because there's no good. There's no, like, how the hell do you navigate this without getting something wrong?
Yeah, similar views. I mean, I think no matter who would be in charge right now, whether it's Labour, whether it's Green, or whoever, they'd still be facing the same problems and probably under the same criticism and scrutiny from the general public. So, yeah, I don't envy what they got to deal with at the moment, but at the same time, I think there is definitely an element of common sense that should have been used. I think from the start, I really do feel that we could have looked at what everyone was doing a little bit sooner. I feel that they were just kind of doing we'll just roll with it and see what happens, and then kind of like looking at European countries. But effectively what we did, we just kind of like copied someone else's homework in class, like the day it was due to be handed in, and like, you guys are doing that, all right, cool, all right, we'll lock things down. And
well, I think as well I think part of it is, if you look at someone like Boris Johnson, his whole shtick is being super optimistic and like going on about how, like his whole, whatever you think about Brexit, his whole selling point on that is it's going to be great. We're going to make a success. And that's why people voted for him, because the people who wanted that liked the way he sort of picked it up. And so I imagine his mentality when this came along was, well, we'll handle it. It'll be great. And it won't be that bad, which is kind of the opposite of what we needed. What we needed is someone who would be super cautious. We need to put everyone in quarantine who's coming into the country from outside while we work out what's going on, stock up on loads of PPE. And if we'd had someone who took a very, very cautious, pessimistic view, we'd have probably been slightly better prepared. But it's just kind of the nature of the leader we happen to have at this point, which, maybe in other circumstances might be better. But for this one, we sort of needed someone who was going to go, and I guess there's a cultural aspect as well, because if you look at the countries that have handled it really well, like South Korea, for instance, they've been through loads of virus outbreaks in the last 20 or 30 years. For them, wearing masks is no biggie. And they're also a culture that's very willing to listen to authority figures tell them what to do. And if things like with Japan and South Korea, and when they're in the World Cup, you always see their fans clearing up after themselves, which is that tells you something about their mentality.
They're very, very respectful countries. You know what I mean?
And so I think if they get an instruction saying do this, don't do this, they follow that very strictly, I think. And I think the mask thing's massive. We even now when I go out, you see like 10% of people wearing masks.
Yeah.
And that's so weird to me, because it seems such an obvious way to just, even if it doesn't fix the problem, it makes it less easy for the problem to spread.
Yeah. I don't know. Someone did have a good analogy online. They did say that, like, if you can kind of wear a pair of pants and a pair of jeans and you can still fart and you can still smell it, like, you
smell less of it.
All right, true.
Yeah, I think it's that thing. It's like, because the big thing with masks, I think, is it's less about stopping something reaching you. It's more about stopping something coming out because it's the particles in your mouth, isn't it? But, yeah. I mean, this is one of the things. I know what I know, but I'm not a virologist. I'm not an epidemiologist. So,
Yeah, it's just weird. I mean, I'm still trying to decipher the graph that Boris put on TV the other week. I mean, R equals 1, and then I don't know, times work from home plus stay from home, stay away from home. I don't know. Yeah, I'm still working out what the R equals 1 actually means, but yeah, it's, I think when that kind of happened, I was just like, yeah, people are just not going to give a fuck. They're just going to go out and do their own thing. So it's yeah, what a time to be alive, eh?
Yeah, I don't know. Tell me. Well, this is the thing, man. Like, this is like it's not even a once in a generation thing. This is like a once in a century thing, because
Yeah.
you know, the last time anything like this happened was the Spanish flu epidemic in 1918, and so it's over 100 years since that. This is a pretty unique event to live through, and of course, the big difference now is you've got international travel in a way that has never really existed before.
Yeah.
So it really is a what a time to be alive, because
yeah,
I mean, everyone's sick of this word, but it's unprecedented.
Yeah, I think that's probably, I think if anyone needs to like sum up 2020 in one word, I think unprecedented would be the word to describe it, man, for real.
Yeah, that's the word. Yeah.
Cheers, man. So obviously, I mean, kind of spent a good portion of time talking about current events and stuff, and didn't realize I was gonna kind of go down the rabbit hole like that. But yeah, part of this was to kind of, obviously, just to kind of keep everyone busy, kind of create content for Mixcloud, you know, and obviously just kind of keep up, you know, keep us with mates, you know, check in and see how people are doing and that. And you know, I don't really get a chance to kind of speak to like my DJ friends, like how we normally talk. Normally, like we'll kind of see each other in a club, and it's either like changing over sets and be like, "Yeah, what's good? How are you?" But I never really get a chance to actually kind of sit down and really talk about DJing in depth. And you know, like the amount of people I know, like over the years, I don't even really know like how, you know, some people even got into DJing, or you know, how they got to a certain level and that. So I first got to know you through hearing about you winning the Red Bull Thre3style back in 2010. Obviously, kind of, I don't know, I think Martin might have been like our mutual connect and stuff, but I just know that.
Yeah, because we were at ministry at the same time, I think. Yeah, Martin.
And yeah, somehow like got acquainted that way, and obviously we've been on like quite a few lineups together, and you know, seen each other out and stuff. So, how did you initially get into DJing?
So, before I was a DJ, I used to be really into punk, and in fact, I've got a Fugazi T-shirt on now.
Oh, sick.
And so I was in a band. I was like singer and guitarist in a band, playing sort of Fugazi, Pixies, Husker Du, Sugar type of stuff.
Cool.
And then prior to that, I'd already been into dance. My first 12-inch was 808 State, and I was really into Public Enemy and Ice-T and LL Cool J in the sort of early 90s. But got massively into like punk and hardcore in the sort of mid 90s, and then went to uni and got really into drum and bass, which I guess had a lot of the same energy as that sort of 80s hardcore stuff.
Yeah. What university did you go to?
I was at Nottingham Trent.
Okay, cool.
So I think another of our connections might be Tom Pinchard as well, because you play at Bless a lot, don't you?
Yeah. Well,
So I know
used to when birthdays became before.
Yeah, so the whole Tomb Crew link as well, and all that. But yeah, so I went to Trent, got really into and basically just sold my guitars, an amp, and bought decks and a Gemini 636 mixer or something, was it? And just started buying vinyl down at Select Disc and Funky Monkey. And gradually over time, and it was all like, I was at that point, you know, at that age when I was 18. So it's like that age when you're just totally obsessed about one specific thing. And I just couldn't comprehend how anyone else would not want to listen to banging rock hard drum and bass. And it was, yeah, I got really into it. And then through DJ Hype, got into scratching and started buying like DJ Rectangle scratch records and stuff. And that sort of opened up my mind to, once you sort of get your head around hip hop, and it's like, all right, so hip hop is basically, if I got 2 copies of anything, then I can make that hip hop. And so that sort of opened me up to just playing anything and everything at that point.
Oh, sick. What year was this that you kind of, you know, decided that, hey, I'm going to become a DJ?
I guess I bought my decks in 97. Okay. Yeah, it would have been autumn 97. Yeah. Jeez. So a little while ago.
And so what was the kind of, like, how did you kind of start getting into, like, you know, playing out? And was it like the house party route, like the kind of like halls parties and stuff, or did you kind of just go straight in? And
I used to play, there was like a student union at Trent, where they had like an upstairs room, and on a Thursday they'd have like this cheesy pop night downstairs called Trolleyed, and then upstairs they just let us run events up there for like free, and we'd all get paid nothing, but we all got to play for an hour. And so I'd go there and play, you know, an hour of drum and bass, and then I think my first paid gig, I did the house party thing, didn't. I don't know if it's because systems weren't really, people didn't have the same sort of speakers back then, but there wasn't like a massive house party culture at uni when I was there. Yeah, so basically, yeah, maybe it's just because not like no one else had decks as well. Because that's the thing that a lot of people who DJ nowadays don't really get, is how unusual DJing was at a certain point, where, because it was a really expensive hobby, because you had to buy the decks and you had to buy the vinyl. And the vinyl was like, you know, minimum a $5 a pop. And sometimes if you were getting certain stuff, it was like a tenner for a record, where you know, if you say to someone, right, you got to pay £10 to get that one track, they just look at you like you're insane. But that was the situation. And so yeah, I used to work behind the bar at a bar called Brown's, and they decided they were going to have DJs on every night. So I ended up getting 2 gigs a week there for 40 quid a night. Plus as much beer as I could drink. I was very happy with that deal. Yeah, and so that was my first sort of thing. And through that, basically just kind of snowballed, because then the Market Bar across the road got me in to do their Thursday, and you know, there's a Revolution around the corner. I started doing a night there, and et cetera, et cetera.
So when did you make the move down to London?
So that was not straight after, but pretty shortly after Red Bull Thre3style. So I wanted to move to London for a little while, but I was kind of acutely aware of, like, as much as I had a reputation in Nottingham, because I've been DJing in Nottingham for like 10 years at this point, and played at all the main places. I had residencies at all the main places there and stuff. And, you know, I had like a nice little reputation in that town, but I'm self-aware enough to know that doesn't translate to anything in London. And like, unless I had specific contacts where I could tap up as like on like a mate level, no one was going to be booking me because I played at Stealth in Nottingham. It was just, and so basically after I got the Red Bull Thre3style thing, I started getting quite a few offers to DJ in London. And that's when I was like, right, I feel like I'm at least a couple of rungs up the ladder to go in there and be like, right, I've got this career behind me, plus also I've won this and I've done this. And I started having, I was on Sugar Beat, Utah Saints label. I just started putting music out with them. So that all happened at the same time as well. So that, the sort of, I felt confident then to come down and be like, right, I can do that basically, and not just be like another DJ trying to, you know.
Yeah, man, it's weird because like I feel like maybe it's like a little bit easier now, maybe with social media and stuff. But I feel that like breaking into London, I mean, I didn't really kind of break into London, so to speak, until I think probably similar time, kind of like 2010, 2011. You know, most of my stuff was like, you know, I was playing up in Bristol, obviously when I was there for uni, and then, you know, I came back and doing like a lot of stuff in Essex and the occasional thing in London. But yeah, it's, you know, like you said, it's there are like a lot of DJs fighting for spots and stuff, you know, and yeah, I think people do kind of forget that this is a slog. It's definitely like a marathon. You know, I think a lot of people.
And even when I moved to London then, and I was still traveling back to Nottingham most weeks to do student gigs, like Monday and Tuesday, and crashing at a mate's spare room and whatever. And so even though I was like getting enough work in London to sort of justify being there, I still needed to do that to really make it a respectable income and enough to live off, really. And it's like, I mean, I got to be honest, I'm rubbish at hustling. Like, there are people out there who are great at it and they've got no qualms about going to people and just asking for a gig. And like, I've always been a bit shy like that, and I'm not particularly great at that, the business end of DJing. So it took me quite a long time to really, but like, it's kind of a bit of I think it's a little bit of an exponential thing as well, where once you've got one thing, then that's more likely to lead to another. And once you play at enough places, then other people start to come to you, or you can approach me and be like, well, I play here, and here. And then there's definitely the thing of, oh, you must be legit then, even if they've not heard of you on social media or whatever. If you play at that many places, you must be all right.
Yeah, no.
And they'll at least give you a chance, and then as long as you deliver on the night.
Yeah, no doubt, man. So let's take it back to Red Bull Freestyle. I mean,
Mm.
was it the first year they'd done this in 2010, or was it the second?
That was the first year they'd done it internationally, I think.
Right.
So I think they did it just in Canada and maybe a North America one, but I'm not sure about that. So this was definitely the first year they did a full global one.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was it. The world final was in Paris.
Wow, man. And did you place in the worlds? Or
no, sadly not. There was I think it's DJ Carve one it was interesting actually. The first few years, the home DJ won every year for like 3 or 4 years, and I think the home I think like I'm not sure exactly how they weight but I think definitely like crowd reaction must have been playing a part for it to be. But I mean, to be fair, Carve's set it deserved to win. It was incredible, and then they had oh god, what's the name of the Canadian guy? Oh, I can't remember.
What, Shub or Headspin? One of them guys?
No.
Oh
God, that's going to bug me. Anyway, but I'll see if I can Google it quickly. Oh yes, Nery Lopez from Brazil came second. And then there was the Canadian guy came third, but I can't remember his name. That's terrible. But yeah, that was a really interesting experience as well, because like although I can scratch pretty well, I don't think of myself as a scratch DJ. I think of myself as a DJ who can scratch, if you know what I mean. And that's one of those distinctions I think scratch DJs get, and other DJs are like, what are you talking about? You're a scratch DJ. Look, you can scratch. And I'm like, that's the only battle I've ever been involved with. Like, I've never done DMC, and I actually deliberately didn't do a whole lot of scratching in the final, because I knew that I was up against in the UK final, that is, because I knew I was up against DJs who would probably, if I went toe to toe with them just on scratching, they'd probably beat me. So I focused it much more on it being a really well programmed and well put together and slick, like 15-minute composition that flowed really, really, really nicely, rather than being like, here's the thing, here's loads of me scratching. And like, that was kind of, so even though I won that and it's kind of set me up as being like a scratch guy, the actual performance didn't include a whole lot of scratching, if any. I'm not sure I had any actually.
Yeah. And where do they do the UK finals? I swear, like I heard there was like in like a Point on R or like some kind of like a Fez club or something like that.
They've had them in a few places. The last one I went to was down in Westway somewhere, Hammersmith or something. Or it was like they do seem to have the UK ones in the weirdest places, because the following year after I won the UK final, I went on tour with, there was basically me, Yoda, Charlie Sloth, and then the competition, and they were doing them in like Oshanas, and it was just like, so basically what that meant is that if you wanted to get a crowd reaction, you had to do a very particular type of Thre3style set, which had to be super cheesy, because it was just like a bunch of like cheesy student nights that and so like, I don't know why it is that, I'm not sure what it is about the UK Red Bull setup that they seem to end up in these slight, because they didn't even do it in the UK for quite a few years.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I think that was a consequence of the first. I think they did it for 3 or 4 years and then stopped. But like, for some reason, they seem to. I don't know why they don't just stick. Like, there's loads of places that would be perfect for it, you know. And because I guess you could stick it in cargo and it's on stage and.
Yeah, for real.
You know.
Yeah, it's crazy. When you kind of look at when you did Thre3style compared to like how it is now, and you look at, so I always kind of looked at it like, I think that the benchmark winning set, I think for me would probably be like Four Colors X1 from 2012, where there's wordplay, there's tone play, like it ticks all these little boxes. And then each year you've seen after that, like someone's always added something different. So like SK83 and Puffy started adding dub plates, and then you see Jess Spinoza has like goes one step further and gets like a 2 short dub plate, or you always like see someone kind of add something every so many years, and then that becomes like the kind of benchmark. So when you kind of like look back and kind of look at what you were doing, or what that year's winner was doing, has it changed like drastically or a lot in terms of know?
That's a really interesting point, actually. And it is because I know Kenny, who runs it really well. Well, not really well, but like well enough that we chat, and like we went for dinner recently when he was in the UK. And I think that's a thing that they push against with the competition is there was a little stage a few years ago when there became like a Thre3style template that was like the set would have this bit, and then it would have the tone play, and then it would have and people kind of followed a preset path of and whereas obviously in the first year there wasn't, it's 2010, so there wasn't a massive amount of video content of those Pat Drastic, that's who the Canadian guy was, because I watched his video. But yeah, so like no one really knew what to expect from it, and it was different to DMC, because DMC is 6 minutes and this was 15 minutes. And so actually in that final in France, the sets were completely different. Like some were quite underground, some were like very scratch heavy, some were quite juggle, and it was really interesting because you got these totally different approaches from people from totally different countries, because there was like Colombia, Brazil, America, Canada, France, UK, I guess Australia, no, New Zealand was definitely there. And yeah, and it was like I think what's happened over the years is there's been this kind of move towards like a winning formula, and I think they try and reward people who are a bit more creative now, because it's like, because they weight the marking in so much. So I imagine they weight the originality quite high now, just to try and push people in that direction.
Yeah, I think Puffy definitely broke the mold, because I think, up until then, even though like Four Colour Zach and even though SK are like wicked on stage, like Puffy, I feel like definitely brought like an energy that hadn't really been seen before.
Yeah.
And especially like the song selection and how he approached.
Did he use the mic?
No, he didn't use a mic.
Because I don't think they allow that still, do they? But it's interesting, because like the whole thing was always like who's the best party rocker. And although I don't really use the mic at all, unless I absolutely have to, that is an aspect of party rocking. Is if you're great on the mic, that can elevate your DJ. So I wouldn't have a problem for the context of that DJ competition for that to be a part of it. But I can see why some people would be quite hostile to that as well, because it's like, are you a DJ? Are you an MC?
Yeah, definitely. But I think at the same time, if you were to use mic, it could actually kind of open up, like, let me try and articulate this. Like, I think kind of using the mic can actually work to your advantage, because, even though you can do like wordplay transitions, like at least you can have like a back and forth on the mic with the crowd and say something to set up the next like 2 records. Do you know what I mean? So you could actually use the mic as a way to almost kind of like segue your set into something different, or like do something.
I mean, like there must be things that we like with using samplers, and because I remember, like, this is a bit of a diversion, but I remember seeing Cut Chemist, and he got someone out of the audience, and they said something, and then suddenly he was incorporating that into his next track. And
I saw JFB and Beardy Man used to do that at Battle Jam back in the day. They like sample the crowd, and then boom, he's got it there on Syrah, and he's able to like cut up like people screaming into a mic and shit.
It's so cool stuff like, and that's the thing, is like, because that's a whole aspect of creativity that, and especially in a live performance setting, that can really hype a crowd up if you can do something where they're like, oh, what the hell did he just do? And it's gonna be interesting, I think, to see how this develops. I mean, I've been talking to like some people that have done freestyle, and they've actually like turned around and said, you know what, I'd love it if someone just came in and literally just mixed from start to finish, like didn't do any turntablist stuff, but just did like a real kind of smooth, like just smooth blend from like start to finish, and it's kind of take people, as cliche as it sounds, on a journey. I mean, in a way, that's a little bit like what, if you go on my Mixcloud, just search like Santero, Thre3style, UK, whatever. That's kind of what that is, and it's like it's about 25 tracks maybe crammed into 50 minutes, and there's like a tiny little bit of scratching at the front, I think, which is not even particularly good scratching. Just saying, I've done a sample of just like, hello, this is Santero, and it's like, kind of, when I listen back to them, like, but like, that's basically what that mix is. Just like it's like a really slickly put together thing that kind of creates loads of live mashups and stuff. But yeah, like, I'd definitely do it differently if I was doing it today. But I think there's a lot to be said for that, where it's like, if the goal, is it a technical contest or is it a party rocking contest? Because actually, there are certain gigs where I don't really scratch at all, because I just don't think it's part of the it doesn't make it better. It's, if I start scratching at certain gigs, I feel like I'm doing it for me rather than the crowd. And there's certain sorts of music where I don't think it really needs it. And yeah, if the goal is to rock the party, quite often when people scratch or start, especially when people juggle, kind of kills the party for a little bit.
Yeah, for real. It's
so like juggling is one that if you do that for too long, a lot of the audience is like, well, I don't know what's going on. What is this?
Yeah,
Unless it's a Scratch Geek event.
Yeah, I was chatting to Swerve about this because we were talking about sort of like how juggling, like it translates better. Juggling translates better for like radio, like for mix shows and for mixtapes. I think, you know, it can add that element of hype if the tune's like, you know, big. But I think if you're just like
you're listening rather than dancing.
Yeah, so you know, if you're like kind of bringing something back, like, you know, people just want to sing along and Snapchat themselves singing along. They don't want to kind of do that and, you know, like, yeah.
Shorty Blitz is really good at doing that live, where he'll do a little routine, like that kind of extends the intro and maybe, you know, chops up the first few lines or something, but doesn't get in the way of it being danceable.
Yeah, I think he picks and chooses moments really well. I think like in terms of being an all rounder, I think Shorty's probably like the best that we have in terms of, you know, like out and out party rockers. You know what I mean? I've always said that like Shorty's kind of like the UK guy for that, in my opinion. Like, so are you still putting routines together for club sets these days, or
not really? Like, yeah, I mean, I guess generally speaking, I don't sort of sit at home creating routines. Sometimes things kind of emerge from playing out, and then you're like, oh, that goes well with that, and so there'll be little things that they kind of organically grow from a moment where I'm like, oh, that was really good. And what I tend to do is basically, if something really cool happens, or if something just works really well, I'll just do a quick screenshot of the screen so I don't forget. And then I can go back and be like, right, that was there, and I was at that point of that track, and I can kind of work my way backwards from that. And then over time, things might emerge where it's like, oh, I use the acapella of that with the instrumental of that, and then I end up with a little 3 or 4 daisy chain kind of sort of a routine, but not exactly a routine. But I don't like. I have to say, I've been so impressed by Andy Pennell's output on Instagram.
Andy's one lockdown just with like the shit. I mean, like he's on what, like 50 routines now or something crazy like that. It's like
mind blowing, because the thing is, the discipline to get up and do that every day. It's just like, because it makes me feel I've been like reasonably productive this lockdown, but then I'm like, well, I'm a DJ and I've produced zero routine videos, and like, yeah, to just get up and be like, right, I'm going to use these tracks to do this, and then obviously with the video side of it as well, it's like, fair play to him, because that is not easy to come up with that much material.
Oh man, like when the green screen arrived, I was just like, oh man, he's killed it. You know, especially I think he had one where he even wore like a green bodysuit as well, so you could just see his hands like this shit. And I was just like, that's really thinking outside the box. And I think that's one of the cool things about the situation we're in, is that it really is like forcing a lot of really dope creativity out of people. You know, like sometimes I do beat myself up a little bit, and I'm like, oh man, you know, I wanted to like drop a beat tape, and I had all these things in mind. And then, you know, you realize that, well, it's not the end of the world, because, you know, effectively, like, the whole industry's on pause at the moment. So regardless of whether you're kind of putting out content or trying to finish releases, or, you know, not doing any of that stuff, doesn't really matter too much. It's probably one of the reasons why I haven't. Sorry, what were you going to say?
I think another thing that's worth mentioning is, like, some people are being incredibly creative and productive in this situation. I'm just going to grab my charger so I don't run out of battery.
Yeah, do you think, man?
Yeah, so some people are being incredibly creative and productive and coming up with it, but there's nothing wrong with not doing that and just getting through it, because this is not a good situation. And for a lot of people, they need stability and security to be creative. And so this situation is not very stable and not very secure. So it's absolutely fine for if you get through this in one piece, that's a win. Like, that's your base level win. And if you do anything else on top of that, it's a bonus. So that's like, I think that's important to remember, is like, while recognizing fair play to people like Andy who have done incredible things like that, it's important not to beat yourself up if you don't achieve whatever, person over there did or person over here did. Because I fell into that a little bit where I was like, I need to be doing this, I need to be doing that, and like really beating myself up because I wasn't ticking off the things I wanted to quickly enough, or at all sometimes. And then you realize that, well, you know what, I wouldn't in normal times I wouldn't expect myself to achieve some of the things I was expecting myself to do in this incredible situation.
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of sort of put the energy into like doing other things, like I'm like painting the fences in my garden, or I'm getting finally getting some new furniture for the DJ room / dining room. So I've kind of been that's really been like the only thing I've kind of splurged on. Is just kind of getting.
Do you know what though? Like you mentioned about painting the fences, things like that. They're like, and like just cleaning the house and stuff like that.
Yeah,
one of the few things I find they take your mind completely away from the situation. Like you're not thinking about work, you're not thinking about life. It's just like you just focused on mowing the lawn or painting the fence or whatever. It's like sounds stupid, but it's the one thing where it's just you get the chance to just be focused on a thing that's nothing to do with anything.
Yeah, and even like taking the time to get up to date with accounts, or like have a clear out.
Oh, God, I've got to do that at some point.
It's I need to do it soon as just to kind of work out my on account payment for July, because I'm pretty sure it's going to be hopefully lower than
that can be deferred though, I think.
Yeah, but that's the thing, because it's like if you defer it, you then got that to pay it on the 31st of January, along with
Yeah, that's going to be savage, that January payment. I don't even want to think about it.
I know. Do you know what I mean? So that's why I'm trying to see if I can get it down. And obviously I've lost out on quite a bit in the last few months and stuff. So I'm hoping, not the 1920 tax year, I should be paying a little bit less. But yeah, I mean, going back to it, that's probably one of the reasons why I haven't sort of done Instagram Live or anything like that as much as I thought I would have, just because it's also a little bit disheartening sometimes, and I know, like you said, we really shouldn't be like watching what the people are doing and watching numbers and stuff, but we are DJs, we are essentially hip hop DJs, like we've got that element of
it's competition element, isn't it?
Exactly.
I mean, you mentioned that about being disheartening. I've got a real love-hate thing with live streaming where like sometimes it's really great, and I really like it when it's like, because I particularly like live streaming on Facebook because that's where most of my mates are. Yeah. And that's where they come in, and then so if like 20 or 30 people come in, you have a little chat in the comments, and for me that's the pleasure. There is like, well, I'm catching up with a bunch of people at once while we're listening to some tunes together. And Instagram, a bit, there's that a bit, but I find it really hard to interact because it's all on the screen, and it's just a bit clunky to do it. So at least with Facebook, you can be on your laptop as well.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, so and then like Twitch is like, there's been people who've really built their stuff up, but it's still like hard work getting people over there. And I just find myself like, I found myself wondering, like, what am I using the live streams to advertise what I can do in the club? Am I using it to play what I really want to play, which is like slightly different to what I would play in the club? Like this, am I just like using this as an opportunity to just kind of show off my musical personality? Am I trying to cater to what the people want? Because do people just want comforting throwbacks right now? Or, I end up trying to second guess a million different things. And then also, sometimes you're really looking forward to it and 4 people show up. And it's like, I mean, fair enough, those 4 people there, you want to, but it's a bit like, oh, yeah, I was hoping there'd be a few more people there than this. And it does mess with your head a little bit sometimes.
Yeah, because again, there is that whole kind of thought of, I need to do this to like stay relevant, and I've been guilty of thinking that periodically, and again, there's like a lot of people jumping on there like with that kind of mindset, desperately thinking, oh, I need to be on here playing all the same top 50 100 tracks that are like popping at the moment, just so I can just to kind of maintain relevancy. And I don't, I think it's cool to like maybe not live stream as much. I mean, I've had so much fun like playing stuff I normally wouldn't get the chance to play. So I mean, I did like an old school drum and bass one. Like I was going to do it last Thursday, and there was like some issues with like the video source. Like I left it on by mistake instead of turning the volume down, so it kind of like went over the top of my set. So I thought, all right, cool, let me do it again, and did it via IG as well. And yeah, it was wicked, man. Like it was good to just literally play like records for like 2.5 hours that I haven't played in like 15, 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is also one of the things Twitch gives you, which is I find very frustrating on Instagram and Facebook. Is like you can just play a song, and if it's 7 minutes long, you can just play the 7-minute version and just listen to it, and you don't have to think, oh, I need to hit an air horn every 20 seconds and talk a bit, and oh, but like that whole thing of Instagram saying you've got 90 seconds per track, or else we spin you off, and it's just it turns those platforms into a bit of a stressful experience where it's just like. Sometimes I don't want to mix like that. Sometimes that's fine, you like kind of rapid fire, but it means you can only play a very particular, specific sort of set.
Yeah.
Which is not always what you know, on a Sunday afternoon, I just want to play some tunes.
Yeah. And even like, saying, even like drum and bass, and even with like, house, techno, especially like electronic like genres and that, like you need to let tunes breathe. Like, even like some of like the kind of 90s D&B, a lot of those tunes are anywhere from like 6 to 8 minutes long. You've got like 2-3 drops in. You want to be able to kind of let it run, chat to people, talk some shit, select your tune, all the other bits and pieces as well. It doesn't got to be like quick fire, and like you said, especially if you're streaming on a Sunday afternoon, it's you want to keep it nice.
I think it's like that hyperactive, like that's a particular, but I find that even in the club, it's like that's something that I'll do for maybe 5 or 10 minutes to hype things up. If I feel like the room needs a energy lift, then maybe I'll do something like that where you get people's hands in the air every like 30 to 60 seconds by just being like bang, intro, chorus, next thing, and that. But then after 5 to 10 minutes of that, that's enough. Get back to playing like at least a couple of minutes of tracks, because it's kind of exhausting after a while for the audience as much as for the DJ.
I know. I was going to say, I think DJs underestimate the fact that like the audience does get tired. They can get tired, and after like 15 minutes of like jump around and washing and that, like they're going to want to go to the bar and sit down. Do you know what I mean? And then it's and then you think that there's that pressure for you to like still kind of play like tunes every 30 seconds to kind of maintain that reaction. But like
I think DJs get addicted to that, reaction, rather than looking at it from a sort of a bigger picture type of thing.
Yeah, even like business view as well. People still got to buy drinks. They're there to listen to music, but they're there to drink. They're there to drink. They're there to socialize and stuff. And there's no shame in like letting the tune play a little bit longer. And there's gonna be people that are going to want to complain, or there's gonna be people that want to hear this at the time. I mean, but at the same time, like it's nice to kind of let things wind down a little bit. Let people go to the bar. Let people go to the toilet. Let them go outside for a cigarette or whatnot. Come back and like you said, like put these little kind of hype moments in throughout your set. You know what I mean? As opposed to like trying to, force feed them like 30 seconds of like pop smoke for an hour. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah.
But that's the thing. Is like because if everything is always at a 10, then nothing's really a 10 anymore. Like it's just that's flatlining. So if everything's at that insane energy level, like that's why you've got to have it in your locker to be able to go, right, I'm going to just bring it down for a little bit and then bring it back up again, because then it means something when you're back up at a 10.
Yeah, for real. The other question I've been asking like a lot of people on this series is, with obviously live streaming and now you're seeing Zoom parties and you're seeing like digital festivals, and I know Delta Group have really got heavy on having people stream and putting it throughout all their Facebook pages, kind of doing like a lot of cross-platform stuff. As and when things do go back to normal and open up, now that there's this whole world opening up of like live streaming and pay-per-view concerts, for example, as well, some people are getting onto that. Do you think this could be more of like a social norm for people to be like, you know what, I like socializing, but I can stay in on a Friday night, I haven't got to like drive or do anything, I can order some drinks in and whatnot, I can pay like a $5 or a $10 to log into Zoom, party in my living room with my friends, and I get to like see, I don't know, like a headline DJ, for example, as opposed
possibly maybe. Like it's an interesting one, because I think a few people have sort of I think some people are overestimating the amount this is going to change the way people fundamentally live, because I think at some point in the next few years it'll just be more or less back to normal, because we've had pandemics before, we've had wars, we've had famines, we've had and people still basically go back to, because we're a social animal, we like to be around other people. But as you say, you've got plenty of people who, once they've got kids, can't go out or don't want to go out, or they just get a bit older and they don't fancy the hassle or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So this, I think, is kind of fast tracked a new possibility for that. So yeah, like there's definitely this thing of, if you do create really good online content with good, cool visuals and good music, then yeah, there's a possibility that you're going to kind of have a little new sort of, I don't know how big that. The one thing I do feel slightly concerned about with that is that it squashes the platform where if you've got a choice between like Jazzy Jeff and Roger Sanchez and Carl Cox and Fatboy Slim and whoever else, and like all these like absolute superstars who might be doing that, thinking, I don't really want fancy touring, so I'll just do this every Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to make it really tough for anyone to pay £5 or £10 for their one from like their spare room or bedroom or whatever, unless they're doing something really amazing with either the music or the visuals or both.
Yeah, true. There is that.
So
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want that to sound too negative, but like I just think, knowing what people are like,
Mm-hmm.
they'll tend to go towards the celebrity name.
Yeah, well, I guess it's all about just like building your own following and building your own community around it.
Yeah.
I mean, like Twitch is really good for that.
And it's a massive opportunity. Don't get me wrong.
I'm more interested in the pay-per-view concerts because, like, if you're an artist who, you know, let's say for example, I don't know, let's say H, for example, wants to like do an event and he's got like a London show and I don't know, he's like doing like limited tour dates or something. Let's say he's only doing, you know, what he could do like 3 dates. He could pick like South Midlands, somewhere up north, and or even just do like one London show. You could like just do, I don't know, like Brixton Academy or whatever, and that sells out. So there's only like what 4,000 tickets gone. Anyone else who couldn't get a ticket, he could literally just like stream that concert as well with multiple angles, and you can still pay to view that. And the cool thing about, I think, with pay-per-views is that you could even, in theory, implement like a tier system. So, you know, kind of like how you get standing tickets, seating tickets, VIP tickets, you know, whatever.
Not on the stage, pay-per-view or whatever.
Yeah, so you could even get like, you know, you just get standard tiers, you know, you just get your ticket, you still get a choice between our multiple angles and stuff. Second tier up, you get like merch, or you get, I don't know, like all these other bits and pieces, like, you know, as bait as, I don't know, like, I don't know, like a FaceTime or something like that. I don't know. But like, I think there really is like a business model there where artists, if they're really smart, they could actually start using kind of almost like a Patreon thing where, you know, you have like your different tier systems.
Yeah.
And the more you support and the more you pay and the more you subscribe, the more exclusive content you're going to unlock, you know. I really think there's like something there that really could be like monetized, but yeah, like you said, it's, you know, it's just trying to get those people to see part of the money. You know, I know like a lot of people, you know, again, you know, with everyone like live streaming at the moment and doing it for free, when this does become monetized, you know, who is really gonna, you know, pay for that shit? You know what I mean? So.
Well, that's it. Yeah, I mean, we are in a culture now where people have got used to the stuff on the internet just being free. So once what paywalls go up, and you see it with newspapers and things like that, where they all just kind of opened up, and then after about 5 years, we're like, oh, no one's buying the actual newspaper anymore, and the new website's free.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna have to start, and so everyone just goes to the Guardian or whatever else that's free, because they can't be asked to buy a Times, you know, newspaper thing to read one article.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, that's one thing. But like, the problem with, I guess, with if only some people are trying to monetize it and lots of other people doing it for free, the content has to be sufficiently better, which is, you know, that's doable. I mean, some of to be honest, like I've been really looking into Twitch over the last few days, and some of the visual stuff that you see in all in quite different ways, it's absolutely amazing. Like really, really cool. And there's definitely, you know, I was thinking, I saw one where like there was a guy DJing, and so he was in a frame on the screen, but then the screen itself was like famous TV shows and stuff like that. So at one point it was like the South Park classroom, and the teachers up, like Mr. Garrison's up there giving a class, and the chalkboard's up there like that, and the chalkboard is playing the music video of the song that's on, while all the people in the chat's names are floating across the screen.
Heavy.
And it was like, oh, this is like, and so, yeah, things like that were just like, well, everyone in the chat has got their name on the actual broadcast. This amazing thing's going on where you can see what the DJ's doing. You also see the music video. And it was just like, this is bonkers.
Yeah, I saw one. I think Complexion reposted it. Like someone had like had it set up where it's like Crash Bandicoot, so it's all like 3D rendered stuff. And he's like, you know, there on like the beach, DJing, and it's like panning around, and you're seeing like Crash Bandicoots like sitting there, just like sunbathing, and all the other characters from the game are there. I think, you know, there's definitely so much stuff that you can do creatively. Even just
I think as well with
OBS,
that,
like just OBS itself, like the fact
so
is,
you
like,
use OBS, don't you?
yeah, I use OBS. It's I'm probably going to
You've
move
got those cool. I really like the retro Windows.
the Windows 95 thing.
That's cool, man.
It's I'm trying to figure out how I can push it a little bit more, but my computer is not the most powerful one, so I'm trying to.
Are you running off one computer?
No, I run off two. But yeah, this one's just got like a standard Intel Iris Pro card. I really need one that's got like a dedicated video graphics card because
I'm on one laptop, and it's like I tried to use OBS once, and it felt like my room was about to explode. It was just like the noises coming out of this thing were frightening, and so I really need to get another computer if I'm going to try and do OBS properly.
Yeah, or just the PC. I know Complexion's using the PC at the moment, and
I guess
the cost to actually build it was a fraction of what a new MacBook would would cost you. And you know, again, that's got like 4K video capability, and it's running like no issue. I think it's like 17% like CPU or something.
Okay,
something crazy.
Yeah, that might be the solution.
Because again, like, you know, like saying it's all about for me, it's all about kind of looking at what's going to become the norm in 5 or 10 years time. And I really do have a theory that this will become more of a thing. This will become more of a social norm. And, you know, whether it replaces clubbing or just complements it, I don't know. I still think people are going to crave that live experience.
I don't think it'll replace it, but I think what it might do is supplement it. In that, if people don't want to go out on a given weekend, they can do this and stay at home and get a bottle of wine from the co-op and whatever. And also, people who are either too young or too old to want to go out.
Exactly, yeah, that as well. And you know, that's the cool thing about Twitch, and I think the cool thing about streaming as well. Again, you know, you've got 24 hours a day to do it, so we're not governed by licensing hours, not governed by peak times when people come to the club and that. You know, if I want to start at 3 in the afternoon and finish at like 1 in the morning and just stream constantly for 8 hours, like, not only am I going to be picking up people that are in my area or like, you know, in the UK, but it opens up to, you know, people in like the West Coast and the East Coast who are getting up and getting on with their day and stuff, and they're still going to catch that stream. So in terms of like kind of reaching more people, I think it's going to be, you know, a wicked thing to kind of develop. But I'm also looking at like how eventually they'll implement like virtual reality and augmented reality into these kind of programs, or whether people end up kind of doing VR clubs at one point. I think that risk, you know, something that's gonna
that'd be really cool. Like, get like a mask with, you know, decent headphones, and that would be the most amazing thing. To be like, you're in a room, there's the light show, there's like whatever avatars around you that you're dancing with, and then you're like, I'm gonna go into the lobby, and you've got that sort of in between rooms club sound where everything's about, and then you go into the other room, and it's, this is the drum and bass room, and like there's somebody else up on, like, it is interesting because we are at a point where with 5G, streaming is going to get a lot. You can be able to stream much more interesting and complicated things. Because I do find that, like, quite often, because we've got a household of people just using Wi-Fi constantly, our Wi-Fi is a bit sketchy at the moment.
Yeah.
So I quite often stream using 4G, which even then sometimes gets a bit sketchy. And so, but obviously 5G is so powerful that eliminates that problem completely. And obviously at the receiving end, they'll be able to take on and with how things are now, it's, you know, we're talking about the stuff you can do with the visuals are amazing. That VR thing's a really interesting idea.
Yeah, man. Even just on an AR level as well. Imagine like you're able to just like hold your phone up and even say like, I don't know, if there is a way to do it. Like I'm watching you on Twitch and I'm holding my phone up, and I can just move it around my room, and like, you know, on a different wall in the room or something, like there's like some crazy shit I can see in the background. I don't know. I think there's all these kind of cool, interesting ways that you can kind of keep people engaged, and also create something that, you know, can then live online as well, and you can kind of experience it again and again, you know.
Well, that's going to be the interesting thing with because Twitch quite a lot of their videos, they mute the audio afterwards, don't they?
Yeah.
but because their own, it was interesting. When this all started, Twitch's terms and conditions very clearly said no DJ sets.
Mm-hmm.
And then about a month ago, they pretty much went, come here to stream your DJ sets, and like really embraced the whole movement of, all these people who've gone there. And with Amazon being the money behind them, you kind of suspect that they're going to be able to do a deal with the record companies and make this work.
Yeah, definitely. There'll probably be some kind of whether it's like, you pay like a monthly subscription for the privilege of streaming, or there's ads behind it or something. I don't know, maybe like pop-ups or whatever. That's one way to look at it. But yeah, I mean, the fact that, worst case scenario, part of your podcast or your stream gets muted, that's fine. I'm on a 3-month Facebook ban at the moment.
You got that as well. A few people got that now, haven't there?
Mojack's got one as well.
Is that like is that a ban on you posting photos and videos, or a ban on you on the platform completely?
A ban on me posting photos and videos, and even on my personal one, I'm only just allowed to now post photos. I can't post any videos. It's crazy. Like, I'm not even allowed to like share other posts at the moment either on my actual Facebook page. So like, I can only just like write text. I'm like, I have a new mix out, and go to this link, and then that's it. It doesn't look as attractive as like posting up, like the flyer and whatnot. So it's been a bit.
Because you go through Restream, don't you? So that's going out to everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm probably gonna cut back on that, because at one point I was doing my Facebook page, I was doing YouTube, I was doing Twitch, obviously, doing Periscope as well, and I sign up to the like £15 a month to obviously open up Facebook page and Mixcloud as well. And I really like what Mixcloud is doing, but I don't know, man. I'm still a little bit skeptical to see how it's all going to work out. I mean, they need to work out on how they can archive video sets and keep it there. So there's obviously like a lot of work to be done on the back end. Still like in beta phase at the moment, but yeah, I don't know. I think Twitch probably is like the way to go. So I might just kind of bin all it off.
It feels that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, do Twitch. Just keep the basic Restream account and just do Twitch and do Periscope maybe. I do seem to get a bit of interaction.
Do you find you get much from Periscope? That's the Twitter one, right?
Yeah, but it's just for security, really. I mean, my Dillamix, that's been muted on Twitch. That got taken down immediately off of YouTube.
Right.
Facebook locked me off. But it's still there in full on Twitter. So so I just left it up on there. So yeah, that's kind of cool. But yeah, again, it's I don't really think people care too much for Periscope these days. I really think it's Twitch and Facebook seem to be the kind of two main platforms where there's like the most interaction. But again,
yeah, I mean, Mixcloud was an interesting thing, but it's just not. It doesn't feel like that's ready yet. Like,
no.
I've used it a couple of times, and it's just like,
yeah, it's cool. I think obviously the kind of audio format of Mixcloud, like, it's still top of the game. The pay royalties, it's all legit, and it works well for me and like a lot of other DJs. But I think with the live stream element, and especially if you want to kind of start getting interactive with it and putting things like whether you're doing tip jars or whether you're kind of doing what Plastician's doing and having like a game show plugin, Streamlabs into Twitch really is like the way to do it. You know what I mean? There's like so many things you can do with like widgets and add-ons, and there's obviously people still kind of coding and putting like some crazy shit together. So I guess that sort of brings fucking hell, that was a shit segue. Let me start.
Mate, trust me, I did that podcast to get ahead for a while, and that was the amount of times where I just be like, and now this, like, you just it's one of those things where you realize like TV presenters really know what they're doing.
Yeah, whilst they've got an earpiece and people screaming into them, like, look at the camera, do this, do that, sit down. Yeah, ask them this question. Stall us for another 30 seconds. Crazy. I was going to say, yeah, obviously talking about Mixcloud and mixes, let's get into the mix that we obviously did the whole back-to-back thing. So that was my segue. See, I'm a professional.
Nice.
Yeah, so this one's obviously a little bit different to what I've been doing with everyone else. A lot of these mixes have been very like hip hop and dancehall heavy, bit like the UK funky one with Swoosh, and this one really is like it's very left field. I'd say like a lot of kind of out there tunes that I like listening to, but I normally wouldn't put together. So, what was your reasoning behind doing this and picking this kind of theme? Let's go back to back.
So I guess like to put it in its context, like you got in touch quite early on in the lockdown and were like, "Do you want to do this thing?" And I'd just done a 20th century hip hop mix and a 21st century hip hop mix for
Hmm.
Monkey Shoulder. So I was like, "Well, I've done that." It sort of felt like, "Well, I've done that already." That thing, and I was thinking like, and it was, I didn't really. You asked about doing a house and garage one, and I didn't really. I've tried doing some stuff, and I couldn't get it sounding right. I couldn't. I don't know. It was just when something's just not happening.
Yeah.
And I'd been buying all these tunes off Bandcamp they're like you say quite left field sort of. In a way, their atmosphere and they sound a bit like late 90s drum and bass, like Prototype stuff. They're not drum and bass at all, but they've got that sort of feeling of that sort of Prototype records, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like that sort of techie kind of moody, atmospheric, futuristic sort of thing. And so they're all quite sort of like broken beat techno or something. And so I just was like, I just was like, do you fancy me doing something along those lines? And like I think I called it weird bassy stuff or something. And you were like, yeah, cool, go for it. And I think this is the thing, is like it was that point where I was like, well, should I just do the thing that I want to listen to? Because it's not like we're going to be playing in the club anytime soon, so this isn't promo in any events or anything. And it is true that this is probably, out of all the dance music that I've listened to, this is the type I enjoy the most. But I just never get to play it because, like, I have no idea where unless I got booked to play at Fabric, I'm not sure where the hell I would get to play stuff like this.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, man. No, it's like it was kind of refreshing for me because I've got like a weird crate called electronica / wonky music, and there's like loads of shit in there, like from Aphex Twin to like Square Pusher. Obviously, there's like a Square Pusher tune on my half of the mix, and it was good to kind of go back and dig for like some older bits, but also kind of go out there and look at like some newer bits and pieces and kind of really sort of throw myself into it, because part of doing this series as well was to kind of just like reconnect with like music that I enjoy, but also to kind of there's like DJ schedule where I'm going to be doing like tech house, and I've got like some knowledge on it and I know like what I like, but it's going to force me to kind of go out there and dig a little bit deeper and keep up to date on things. So kind of part of this was to sort of put me in positions where I like certain genres of music, don't necessarily get a chance to play it out, but I also now get a chance to kind of research it, and it might spur something creative. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, totally. Because like I think just taking yourself outside your comfort zone. Because the thing is like I could have a half-hour mix, I could have done like a sort of staple half-hour London club set type of set, and like I've done 1,000 times before. But I just felt like I think it was that the timing was, it just felt like, what's the point of that? Whereas I think in normal times I might have probably done that just because it would have been representative of what if people were then going to go come and see me.
Yeah,
it's funny. I think it is. That's like it's a rubbish situation, but one of the silver linings is it has made me really examine like what music am I genuinely wanting to listen to. And I suppose part of that is the context, but like there was a guy, I did some DJ tuition with a guy, and he sent me a mix to listen to, and it was kind of like a very commercial hip hop R&B mix. I couldn't listen to more than like 5 or 6 minutes of it because it was just like songs I'd never want to hear ever again, but that I know that if I played certain gigs I'd probably play. It's just like
see that's an interesting one as well, because again, like, I mean, I know there's going to be we're going to go back to clubs and we're going to probably play like the same throwback tunes and obviously the same club hits for the last kind of 2-3 years, but how people are digesting music at the moment, people aren't really commuting like they were, so they're not really kind of, I don't know, maybe people are keeping up to date on Spotify, but there's obviously a lot of people that aren't really kind of keeping up to date with like Rap Genius and their kind of release radar and stuff, and maybe they're discovering older stuff, or maybe they're kind of listening to they're not in a turn up environment, so maybe they listen to more chill music. Like, when things do get back to normal, do you think people's tastes are going to change drastically, or do you think they're still going to be in the club requesting candy at 11 o'clock in the evening?
I mean, I'm pretty confident I'm going to get requested Candy on my first night back, because that's just, that's what happens. Is good song. I just kind of never need to hear it ever again. It's in that category. But I want to be optimistic here, but having been a club DJ for 20 years, I kind of think that there'll be this weird sort of month where where it hasn't really been established what the songs to request, and then it'll slip into a similar groove to how it is, where like you can say with absolute certainty that this song will get requested 20 times tonight, and that's just, I think people really like that familiarity, I think, of and just being able to ask for something that they get a yes, maybe, I don't know, but it is amazing how predictable requests are from week to week.
Yeah, man. I don't know. Are they even going to be able to request stuff? I mean, is social distancing going to be in place? I mean, are we going to be behind like a Perspex booth or some shit? Do you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I personally would really like to see something like a Perspex. I mean, like for the 2 weekends before the lockdown, I had I had like a sign up saying, if you want to make a request, write it on your phone and hold it up. And if anyone came over, I'd just point at that and they'd do that. And I'd be like, yes or no, we're going to take this shit. And that kind of worked pretty well. And I'm thinking of maybe something similar to that, or maybe like another idea I had was like, if you want to make a request, you've got to take a photo of the venue, tag the venue and me in it, put the request in the Instagram story. And that way you get a bit free for publicity, and here's your request. And then so it's like a bit, it's a bit cynical maybe, but it's kind of, but I'm just not really up for having people spitting their requests in my face, because you must know as well as I do, quite often you don't just get the request, you get a lot of their spit.
Yeah, and it's
thanks for that, cheers.
And like the occasional instance like where it like lands on your lip and then you have like
yeah, like, it's not pleasant.
Man,
and that's I mean, that's reality. Like, this thing, until there's a vaccine, if there ever is a vaccine, I mean, I think I've had it, but I don't know until I get tested. Like, yeah, it's these are all things we've got to think about, and that, just from I suppose just from a duty of care perspective for the venue.
Sorry, my dog's pestering me. You're gonna say hello?
Hello. Yeah, just from it's not just about the venue's duty of care to us as the DJs or to the staff. Also, if someone comes and gives us COVID, and then 50 people come and make requests off us after someone at the beginning, so actually it's like they need to protect us to protect their customers. Yeah, because we're the people that everyone comes and speak to.
Yeah, and then it's another thing as well. Like, if we contract, I can't even think of the word then. That's crazy, isn't it? Like, if we contract COVID whilst we're operating under their venue, how does that work from like a health and safety standpoint? Are they required to provide us with PPE whilst we DJ? Like, there's so many variables,
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the things that we're like. Is it going to be a vibe killer to see a DJ with a mask on? But then, no, man, should we be expected?
They must have been doing it for years, mate. It's fine. I mean,
yes. Get yourself a great big rat head.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, like if I had to DJ in a hazmat suit, I wouldn't mind. It'd be all right. I think day parties are gonna be more of a thing, or just like open air events where, again, if you need to do a 1-2 meter rule, you can do, but it's open air. It's not gonna be a little sweat box. In theory, that should hopefully keep transmission to minimal risk. Then again, I don't know. I don't know how that would work. Then you'd have to work out how many people can legally fit in there to kind of work with the kind of social distancing restrictions. Does that change the ticket prices? Does that then reflect on what DJs can charge and what headline acts can charge as well? I'm
a little bit pessimistic about. I've got a feeling that pubs are going to be open a long time before DJs are able to get back DJing, because being in a venue where they're selling drinks is one thing. having a dance floor with several hundred people together singing a lot, like, because one of the big things for spreading it, apparently there's like various choirs where everyone got it. And basically, because when you're screaming or singing or chanting or whatever, you're spraying the aerosols much further and much more widely. And so if you're, like, as a DJ, I hate to think this, but like, we're really going to be one of the last people back to work, I think, which is dark to think about, but you know.
I know. Have you thought like what you're going to do long term, like whether you're gonna maybe get a 9 to 5 or like another source of income on top of what you're doing at the moment?
I mean, yeah, I've thought about it, but it's like, at the moment I'm okay because I've got, like I mentioned, I've got savings which have come in, and then I've obviously got the government self-employed grant, which has helped out a lot. And there's another one coming apparently, so that's kind of mean that there's no pressure on me at the moment. And I guess at the moment it's like lockdown is officially still kind of on, like still being relaxed, but it's still sort of a lockdown. So I'm not looking at anything right now, but yeah, it's like if we get to the end of the summer, say, and there's no, I don't know, like, yeah, I don't know. It's a really, because the thing is like, I guess the thing you have to look at then is, if I go and work 40 or 50 hours in like a shop or, you know, that will earn me how many £100, and will the benefit of that outweigh the inability for me to do things for the benefit of my DJ career for when we do return? Because like all this stuff like live streaming and all these kind of things do require quite a bit of time and effort and preparation. And so if I'm knackered because I've been working 8 or 9 hour shifts in a shop, I'm probably not going to have the energy to come back home and do all that. And so I've got to kind of weigh up, is it worth it for the financial benefit of earning the X amount of money to then basically not be able to do the things for what I consider my primary thing, which I've been a full-time DJ for 20 years. Yeah. So like, if I do that, I've got to really weigh up because it's not just, am I prepared to go and do a job or whatever? It's also, by doing that, I'm not probably going to be able to do the other thing. It's like it's quite a big choice on that level. So
yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, I did kind of like have a look on Indeed and LinkedIn and just kind of see what was out there, just to kind of sort of get an indication. You know, I need to go and get one, but not a lot of admin stuff. It's all, you know, a lot of like frontline stuff. So still kind of anything aimed at frontline workers. Still like a lot of supermarket stuff as well, which again is all flexible hours, and you know, I don't know how many hours the contracts are. And even that kind of thing of like, you know, having again been self-employed since like 2007, 2008. Yeah, we know how to run a business. We've got nothing on paper that says we know how to run a business. You know, we don't have like
this is it. Like my CV is basically non-existent.
Yeah.
Like I've done a bunch of things. I've run my own accounts and promoted myself and built a brand, whatever you want to say. But like, there's nothing I can put on a CV that really says that in a very sellable way.
Yeah, even though we act as our own project manager, tour manager, marketing manager, social media manager, accountant for some people, you know, like, you know, even dealing with like P&L and balance sheets and everything. It's, you know, we wear all these like hats, but trying to get maybe like a bank or like another potential employer to kind of really see that, it's going to be the tricky thing. So yeah, man.
Yeah, and it's an interesting one because it's like, I mean, I'm very lucky that I can kind of make that choice of, I don't need the money urgently because of the government assistance and that. But like, it's that thing of like, if I'm going to do that, it needs to be something that either pays well enough or is something I want to do enough that I'm then prepared to sacrifice the possibility of, because like, for instance, on Friday I did a gig for a beer brand, and like things like that come up where it necessitates being free at this time, being able to prepare for the hour or two before, and that is a little, for DJs, that is a little market that's opening with the private party thing in the corporate, you know, taking over, you know, for someone's Instagram channel and stuff. So it's a tricky one because, you know, in the past when I've been stuck for money, I've gone and done labouring on building sites and worked other, random side jobs and stuff, just because, you do what you got to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a difficult one at the moment because there's so many. I think the big part is because there's so many unknowns. It's not like we can say, well, we're definitely not going to work for the next year, so I might as well just,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear that. I mean, I think I'll probably just try and use the time to obviously, spend time with family and
well, yeah, if you got kids, haven't you? So
yeah, yeah, just kind of try and finish as many creative projects as I can, within reason, obviously not to the detriment of my own, sort of well-being and that, sort of do it because I feel like doing it, not because I feel like I have to do it, and still explore the live stream element. I think there's definitely something that can be built there. I mean, I know everyone's still trying to kind of chase the whole like D-Nice, thing, but that was a moment in time that happened, and
yeah,
D-Nice
I think also as well,
we can't compete with that.
One thing I think that a lot of people are missing in the because the live stream thing is new and shiny and exciting, and it is. It's like there's a lot of possibility there. However, a lot of people aren't bothered about watching someone DJ. They just want to hear someone DJ.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you just put out 12 brilliant mixtapes on the first, like one on the first of the month, and then spend the rest of the month building like an absolute masterpiece for the next month and the next one, and just put them on Mixcloud or SoundCloud or whatever, and promote those hard, they could just as easily be as good for people's careers as doing loads of live streaming if you come up with some sort of like spin bad level brilliant mixtape.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like sometimes we get caught up on the new thing because it's new, and that's not to say that live streaming's got loads of amazing possibilities, and it is really, really opening up some very interesting doors. Mm-hmm. But lots of people still just want to listen to a mix, and if you can make a load of really cool mixes, whether you theme them on a genre or eras or particular years or whatever, that's something I've kind of been trying to weigh up, is whether to focus my energies on live streaming or kind of stick with what's kind of already there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I hear that, man. No, for real. Yeah, no, it's definitely something to consider. But yeah, I think we'll probably wrap it up at this point.
Cool.
Yeah. So no, kind of said.
You could just talk infinitely, couldn't we?
So, yeah, only been like an hour, right? So we're going to realise it's been like nearly hour and 45 minutes. But no, it's cool.
Oh my god.
Yeah, man, it's always good to.
I've enjoyed it. It's been good fun.
So obviously, thanks for putting this together, and yeah, for everyone watching on YouTube, the link to the mix is in the video description, and yeah, hopefully, yeah, if you've kind of listened to the mix first, then yeah, we'll obviously put a link to the video in that. So yeah, man, obviously, thanks for taking the time to chat shit with me, and yeah,
pleasure, mate.
Enjoy your afternoon, enjoy your week. Yeah,
cheers, man.
No worries. In a bit.